Good day, sir. I'm John Ponces Guerra from BS Criminology 3-1. So for today, I will be explaining about the concept and introduction about the law enforcement operations and planning with crime mapping. So let's proceed to the police plans and operations. For the introduction, planning is important. It reduces the need environmental scanning and situational analysis. And also, it teaches effective leaders how to predict and prioritize. So after the introduction, let's move on to the planning as a management function. Management is defined as the use of people and other resources to accomplish objectives. This definition is applicable to all organization structure, both profit-oriented and non-profit. The process of management is unimportant to the effective functioning of any organization. So next we have here Henry Fayol. Henry Fayol is a French management theorist and practitioner. Is credited with identifying these four basic functions of the managerial process. So these are the four basic functions of management. First, we have planning. Second is organizing. The third one is leading. And lastly is the controlling. So let's define first planning. Planning means identifying goals for future organizational performance and deciding on the tasks and use of resources needed to attain them. And while the organizing typically follows planning and reflects how the organization tries to accomplish the plan. Leading is the use of influence to motivate employees to achieve organizational goals. And lastly, we have the controlling. It is the process of monitoring actual organizational activities to see that they conform to planned activities and correcting deviations or flaws. So let's move on here on the elements of planning. First is a goal. What do you attain? Second is course of action. How would you reach your goal? Third is implementing group. Who is tasked to do the actions? And lastly is resources needed. What is needed to accomplish? So we have here the importance of planning. Careful planning should result in the development of a blueprint describing the means to accomplish objectives. Enumerated are the reasons why planning is considered to be a vital function of every manager's. So first is, people become more proactive, not just reactive. It is the best to solve a problem before it happens. A plan which put in place, rehearsed and evaluated and would make implementation easier. It would make the police units dynamic and responsive. Next is doing more with less. PNP resources are always not enough. Hence, they must be used to the fullest and with maximum impact. In this case, 1 plus 1 should equal 3 or more, or the sum of the parts should be greater than the whole. Next is the foundation of your work. A plan establishes the basis for what you are doing. You will have quite guide or a roadmap to help you do the right things. Take for example the station patrol plan. It coordinates movements and extends police visibility in crime-prone and periods. After the foundation of your work, next is helps make your people become more productive. When people know what you want to do, how you want it done, and what is expected of them, they adapt to their roles and become productive. They will have a mastery of their job. People know their roles and understand their value and contribution in the overall operations. Next is reflects your competence. Your experience and training will be reflected on the plan you make. It will establish that you have your together. It will also compel you to sharpen your resolve or to read more about delivering quality police service. A good plan is good image builder. And next, we have gives the strategic and tactical advantage. A well-formulated and instituted plans allows the commander to make actions and decisions which have long-term impact. At the same time, It prepares the unit for contingencies needed short-term solutions. Dynamism is an essential requirement of any unit. It must be flexible and attuned to the people's will. So next, we also have the skills needed for planning. First is good analytical thinking. You have to know the situation. You have to set up your baseline data. Learn to analyze what is happening and how it affects your unit. Where is your crime-prone area? What is your crime clock? Next is forecasting. Seeing ahead and making sound assumptions. Begin with the end in mind. Use your intuition based on a sound reflection of past experiences. Look at the confluence of events and look at the future scenario. Use your imagination. Play around with ideas which would help you to be more effective as a police unit commander. Examine the causal relationship of events and draw conclusion with a view of the future. Next is the prioritizing. Compare your sources and capabilities with your goals and objectives. What and who should be tasked to reach certain purposes or ends, as what should be done first, and what is more important, and what was strategic impact. After the prioritizing, we have the sound objective setting. Know where you are going and how to get there. Be practical. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a first step. Next is contingency. A contingency plan represents your efforts to guess what might go wrong or differently with your plan and how to handle it if it does. Next is monitoring. Identifying success indicators and follow up try to see the progress of your plan. Make a checklist of what has been done. Place reminders on conspicuous places to remind you of the progress plan. And lastly, we have documenting, flexibility, interoperability. Documenting, if you have not written it, then you have thought of it. Write your ideas down. Report the progress of your plan. Next is flexibility. Adjust your plans to resources. Be realistic. Do not incorporate tasks which need legislation. Also, be flexible to the point of being able to modify certain parts of the plan which do not work. And lastly is interoperability. This refers to the capability of the commander to work in synergy with the different government and private sectors of the community. These sectors are just waiting to be tapped, are eager to work with the PNP in pursuit of peace and order. So next is we have 15 steps in planning process. First is define the overall purpose or goal. Second, determine the major components or objectives of the plan. Third, make sure that their objectives align with the support the overall purpose. Fourth, collect and evaluate the data you will need to determine what it will take to complete each component of the plan. The fifth, make sure that the data you collected and evaluated support the overall purpose. Next is develop a forecast. Next, make sure that your forecast plan supports the overall purpose. Next, determine action steps. Make sure that your actions steps support the overall purpose. Next is we have developed a contingency plan. Implementation your plan. Make sure that your contingency plan supports the overall purpose. 13. Make sure that your implementation supports the overall purpose. 14. Check the progress of your plan frequently. And lastly, make sure that your plan implemented that the overall purpose remains in focus.